guys, and welcome back to Just Another Night. I'm Curtis, and with me is...
Idris, as always.
And today we're going to be having a kind of a weird podcast. So we decided to run this new theme. So once every 4 weeks, or if you're a normal person, once a month, we're going to do a debate. So instead of it just being us talking and giving you guys like information or discussing one specific topic, we've got 3 headlines. Off those 3 headlines, there's loads of little bits, and we're just kind of going to go ham into all of those.
Yeah, pretty much. So we can give our opinions and you guys can get a bit more of an insight as to what our preferences and thoughts are.
And we thought it would be slightly more entertaining, because obviously we know that us talking a lot it's fun for everyone involved, but we just, I don't know, we thought we'd switch it up and see if this is well received.
Pretty much, yeah. So, should we jump straight into it then?
Yeah, we might as well. Let me just bring up the rap sheet, and here we go. So, our first big headline is... Disney, are they too powerful?
I'm going to have to say yes, like straight off the bat.
Why?
So, first of all, I feel like they've started to monopolise most of the studios. At least with the animated stuff as well so far. So they've bought, Pixar, I'm pretty sure they've got DreamWorks under their hood now. Fox, they've taken them as well. So more and more things are becoming Disney and being owned by Disney, which I think is a bit unfair. Because to keep things to Disney standards, it limitates what those studios can then do.
Kind of, but I think Disney have very much taken a step back from being just that. We are a kids brand, and they have tried to push forward to be more open to getting everybody involved.
Yeah, no, I will give you that, but I feel like it's going to get to a point where every studio is Disney's. That's how I feel, at least.
I disagree with that, because there's still going to be stuff that Disney aren't interested in, because it's not going to fulfill their image, if that makes sense.
I feel like, though, it's safe to say if they take over Warner Brothers or Sony, you can probably see them taking over the rest.
Yeah, but as far as I'm aware, they have no plans to take over either of them. They're just trying to buy stuff out that's going to cause them to make more money. I'm not sure what they want this money for, but they want it, clearly. I disagree. Because I think just because Disney have ownership of them doesn't mean that they're limited in what they can do. For example, if you look at the MCU, I'm going to keep drawing back to this because this is probably the most prevalent one when it comes to Disney.
Yeah.
So they can do whatever they want. Obviously, there's some sort of boundaries, they can't just actively swear and all of this.
Yeah, of course.
But it's not the end of the world. Because what they're creating is still great. They've managed to make so many different franchises, and, it's sick. I don't understand the main issue. I don't understand where they think it's going to get boring. Because so far, they've been doing it for 12 years with the MCU, and nothing has happened that is bad.
See, the issue is not so much as it going them stopping doing good franchises. It's a case of them having so many franchises in the hood. Does it make them too powerful?
I don't necessarily think too powerful is a bad thing. You can have so much power and not use it in a bad way.
But yeah, so the next topic on the agenda is Disney films and comics.
He said that wrong. He meant DC films, not Disney. He's still got it on his mind. He doesn't want to move
so much
on.
About Disney, that's why. Sorry, yes, Disney films and comics. Are they too dark? Or much darker than they should be?
No. That's my answer.
Okay.
What's your answer?
Well, why don't you go ahead with justify your answer?
I don't think they're too dark. I think for what they're trying to show, they are the perfect amount of darkness.
Yeah.
I know that sounds like a really messed up thing to say, but the way that they're kind of trying to do it is obviously Marvel have monopolised on it's child friendly. There's some violence, there's some stuff. But it's good for all the family. And obviously DC, look at DC and Dark Horse Comics. They've both kind of gone down the route of being they've gone with the kiddie version.
Yeah.
Let's go ham and make everything really dark, make everything really grainy, make everything really violent.
Okay, so I would have to agree with you to some extent. So my thing with DC is that each of their sort of platforms has a different outtake, if that makes sense. So their movies, I feel are quite dark. which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I actually quite enjoy DC films. Like, I'm a big fan of both the DC comics and the Marvel comics and things like that. But then you've got their sort of TV shows, like the animated stuff, and I feel like they're way too childish. So I agree with you, like, they have got that balance, but like, I do prefer them being dark, and I do think they are darker compared to Marvel.
I think they're definitely, if we're just talking about, right, films,
Yeah.
they're definitely darker than
Yeah,
Marvel.
100%.
TV shows, I think Marvel are darker, personally. Like, if you look at Daredevil, and you look at Jessica Jones, and then you look at The Flash, and Arrow, and DC Legends of Tomorrow.
Yeah, I feel like DC Legends of Tomorrow is quite happy-go-lucky, but then Gotham can be quite dark.
Yeah, okay, Gotham can be quite dark, but then if you look at the main, like, Arrowverse,
Yeah.
and, like Batwoman, Supergirl, Arrow. Arrow's probably the darker of that section, but even then, it's not necessarily dark.
Yeah.
Whereas if you look at Daredevil, like, Daredevil is literally, like, the whole of the first season and the whole of the third season is him fighting an internal struggle of whether he should kill someone.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of one of the things that kind of pulls it into a close. And then look at The Punisher. The Punisher is literally just
Punisher
him
is
running around
100%.
killing everyone.
Yeah. But on the flip side, they got the brighter stuff as well, because I feel like Marvel Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. isn't that dark.
No, it's not.
Quite...
But I think that was also because it was designed for TV and it was designed before The Watershed.
Ah, fair enough.
Yeah, so it's before anyone goes to sleep, and it's to make it so that you can introduce kids into Marvel, like real live action, and try and get them more into it.
I would prefer them to remain how they are, if you ask me. Like, I do like them having the dark side, especially Watchmen. Like, The Watchmen was such a dark, gritty kind of film, and it done. Like, I personally quite enjoyed it. I know
really
a lot of people didn't. I know we got slayed quite a lot as well, which I don't quite understand. But again, everyone's entitled to their own opinion.
Yeah.
But I enjoy that. Like, I enjoy having, you know, the darker versions of the Batman films.
Okay, so the last thing that we're going to talk about is Marvel, so I'll let Idris go from here, because I feel like I've done nothing but talk. Okay, it's a podcast and we're meant to talk, but seriously, like, I haven't shut up.
Yeah, no, so, like, the thing for Marvel is why they don't have all their characters. Well, let's start with that. So basically, the reason why Marvel don't have all the characters is because quite a few years back, they were going bankrupt. And so in order to stop that from happening, they did sell off quite a lot of rights. So obviously Fox ended up with the likes of X-Men. They also had, I believe, Fantastic Four was Fox, wasn't it?
Yes.
Sony ended up with Spider-Man.
And all of his containing parts.
Yep. But yeah, so that was kind of the main gist as to why they were no longer under Marvel's hood. But the question is, should they have all of their characters back under their hood?
I mean, yes.
Yeah, see, there was a time I would have said no. But because of how our MCU's been pulled off, I want everything back.
Yeah, this is the thing, like, they have regretted making that decision since Disney bought them out. Like, obviously Disney saw that they had so much potential and they wanted to give them a helping hand, and obviously then with the MCU coming under, it was like, God damn, we made a good choice. The fact that they got rid of, like, X-Men, massive franchise, and to be quite honest with you, Fox hasn't done a bad job.
No, they haven't.
Fantastic Four, however, Fox did a bad job. Yeah. But then you look at Spider-Man, right, and you look at all of its subsidiaries. Spider-Man, when Sony was doing films, wasn't bad. Like, it wasn't incredibly awful. Like, the Sam Raimi trilogy was alright, apart from the third one. And then the whole, like, The Amazing Spider-Man... I actually, like, I will stand by this. I quite like The Amazing Spider-Man.
I did as well.
I think they had massive problems. Like, with the original trilogy, Spider-Man was played really badly, and Peter Parker was played, like... He was played really well as Peter Parker, but he was just too old, and I think that was probably one of the biggest things. Whereas with Andrew Garfield, when he was playing Spider-Man in The Amazing Spider-Man, it's like, his Peter Parker was so off. Like,
yeah, but his cocky Spider-Man was quite...
Yeah, it was perfect. Like, he really did have it going for him. But then you just get Tom Holland, who is like the perfect mix of the two.
Yeah.
Like, I think he is genuinely one of the best Spider-Men that I've ever seen. And the fact that Marvel can't do the stories that they want to do with him because Sony own him is absolute dog shit.
Yeah, now, don't get me wrong, I get Sony want to keep him and whatnot, and that's fine. I do believe they should come to a better understanding, but as someone who's a massive Marvel fan, like, if they had all of their rights and characters under their hood from the get-go, I feel like even though MCU's done absolutely amazingly, they could have done a whole lot more with it. Like, I feel like they could have expanded on a lot of it, because now they're at a point, because they've got the mutants back, and because they're slowly gaining other sort of elements back as well, I feel like they're going to have to find some very sort of, I don't know, in-depth way of explaining how these characters have existed in the universe thus far.
It's not.